All right, now let's take a look at the headlines here and what's making on the front pages of our local dailies. With me, I have the Star newspaper. On the front page, Kenya Power loses 18 billion shillings yearly to theft. Kenya Power loses 18 billion shillings yearly to theft. Last year, company suffered 15.99 billion shillings system losses beyond what it is allowed to recover from consumers. And now, there's an exclusive part here that staff collude with heavy power users, redirecting billions from sales. That is the story on the front page of the Star newspaper. You can take a look at that. And still on the front page, President allies crafting Mount Kenya Region Unity Pact. A section of Mount Kenya leaders allied to President Uhuru Kenyatta held a meeting with the heads of political parties to consult on the unity of the region. The closed-door meeting, which was held at a Nairobi hotel, was attended by representatives of 11 registered parties. That is now what's happening in the political world in Kenya here. And still on politics, Kenyatta men divided on DP route removal bid. President Kenyatta's allies are divided on whether to impeach Deputy President William Ruto days after the head of state dared him to resign. It has, however, emerged a meeting could be held today, bringing together Uhuru's political lieutenants to plot the DP's removal as the political war hits, or rather heads to Parliament. You can take a look at that story. Of course, the political temperatures continue to rise on a daily basis. And there's a picture there of Professor George Magoha now having that door-to-door campaign to flash out from one students who sat for the KCSE and are yet to report to school. And he said that he's on a mission to ensure that every student goes to school. There you have the story there. Uhuru allies continues to have the consultation for them to have a region's unity. There could be a meeting today to forge way forward. Yesterday we did a story here about the bishop. That is Bishop Murithi now wants DNA test in child upkeep case. Magistrate refuses to bar media coverage until gag order in another case is read. Now, the bishop, through his lawyer, says that he wants a DNA test to ascertain the real paternity of, what should he say? To claim whether he's the real father of the child. That is what's making on that particular page. And just briefly, Jen, before I give you, Kenya is now contemplating to replace AstraZeneca with Johnson & Johnson. The Minister of Health will not buy the vaccine and will now position the single-dose Johnson & Johnson as a primary jab. Now, head of the vaccines rollout task force, Willis Ahwale, said J&J will be cheaper for Kenya because it has fewer logistical requirements and will be easy to deploy to remote areas. So we are yet to see how the Minister of Health will handle that moving forward. Jen.
Well, it's the sound logic behind that, but again, it boils down to what the ministry deems necessary for our country. Now, let's quickly go through the front page of the Daily Nation. Not much that has been featured here, but starting with the first story here on the header in line with COVID-19, and it reads, why vaccine will save your life at there was a study that was done in the U.S., featured a number of states, that was done between the 1st of May through to the 24th of July rather. And from that report, it indicated over 90% of those people who are admitted in hospitals due to COVID-19 complications rather, haven't been vaccinated. They haven't been vaccinated. Most patients, and even here in Kenya, it is something that the ministry has also noted, that most patients at city hospitals are not vaccinated, as opposed to those who have been vaccinated and are at hospitals. That is the story that has been given prominence here. And coming to the main read here on the front page, the race against time, and pictured therein we have His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta. And as the clock ticks towards the end of his rule as president, it seems that he has a pile of unfinished business. And what business is this, you ask? Well, looking at his legacy projects, what he will be remembered by, this boils down to the Big Four agenda, national unity, 2022 succession, and of course the Mount Kenya block, which is something that has been on the media every single day and is expected to be so up until we get to that point when we see who will be the next president. And finally, coming to what happened in Tanzania yesterday, as a 30-year-old man kills 4 in a Dar rampage. This is something that was happening around one of the most secure places in Dar es Salaam. We'll be giving you details of this in a bit, so do keep it here to catch up with that. But before then, Doreen.
Just come to the front page of the People's Daily, as Regina would always like to put it. Keep your comments, feedback coming through. And I'm seeing one here on Facebook. Nani meambiwa? Charge Ray at your own risk. We are watching you. By the Jay sina ubaya. That is Jay. Jay on Facebook amesema ni wachane na Regina nisi mcharge sina ubaya. Nimetustaki aongelele snaki yetu vibaya, but sina ubaya.
I got peeps on my corner. Yes.
Regina. Okay,
leave us.
All right, so keep your feedback coming. We'll obviously be sampling them through as you continue with this live production there. But let's just come to the front page of the People's Daily, and perhaps you can begin from the COVID-19 matter, where now Kenyans in mad rush to get the COVID jab, whereby at least more than 3,000 people get the first dose of COVID-19 jab in 4 days, a departure from how it was during the first time when the doses came into the country. Right now, it looks like people are becoming more easy to at least get this COVID-19 vaccine, and we know that the government is still on that rush to try and ensure that before December, they would have at least vaccinated 10 million Kenyans there. All right, let's come to politics now, and why OCA meeting failed to take off. Remember that this particular meeting was supposed to be held yesterday on Wednesday, where the OCA leaders were to meet the ODM chief as well as the president, just to discuss and try and find the way forward. But Raila being away and jitters in both camps over agenda led to that postponement of that particular meeting. A specific date hasn't quite been put for when it will take place, but it just was postponed there. Also, Equity disowns Ruto's 15 billion loan claim. That is in regards to the businessman Harun Aydin. We also had that particular story on the news briefs this morning. And coming to what we have been constantly at least been hearing of for the past, not even for the past, let me just say since the enforcement of the COVID protocols, and this is in regards to police brutality in various places across the country, where now police are on the spot again over shooting of 2 in Kahawa West. Of course, this was not perhaps in regards to the same, but just still doubles up with what has been happening in terms of police brutality. And this particular article just highlights what really resulted to this police shooting those 2 men in Kahawa. That was yesterday. And we also have this, when it comes to matters education, still trying to ensure that there's that 100% transition, which the Education Cabinet Secretary George Magoha is trying to enforce, and he has been on that particular campaign since Monday. He was at the coastal region of the country, and right now the article that is actually is just trying to give us various counties which have achieved that 100% transitions, the ones that are still yet to even get closer to that, with the coastal region, the place in which he was on Monday, still recording the lowest of all the counties here in the country. And also when it comes to matter security, the Interior CS, that is Fred Matiang'i, is now saying that as we gear up towards elections, they are warning Kenyans of what they post on social media, just decrying of the abuse of social media platforms, warning that the government will start monitoring the same as the country heads over to 2022 general elections. So it simply means if you're someone who really loves to use social media, just check on what you post, because right now the government is planning to monitor that as we gear up towards 2022 general election. Regina, over to you.
I want to pick pick it up from there, yeah, that particular warning by Matiang'i over social media users ahead of the general election 2022. We have gone through that phase as a country. And we also, if we go at what, you know, media, not just social media, now this in the age of social media, but we know that the media plays a major role when it comes to agenda setting as well as information dispersion. That's why we are in the broadcast sector. So if we look at history within the region and look at what happened in Rwanda and how the radio was used, you know, to ensure that that genocide actually happened. Then we come back to the 2007-2008 post-election violence. This, I think, is a warning that has come well ahead of time, and Kenyans need to know that whatever you say has an impact to the person who reads it or hears it. So you need to be, there has to be due diligence. You have to be a responsible Kenyan. And also the media, I think this is also a challenge to us. How are we disseminating information? Are we debunking myths and lies and focusing on facts? And that's a question I would want to ask all of us who are in the media. What is the plan in this, in as far as broadcast is concerned, ahead of the general elections 2022 to roll out civic education? Because we have the platform, but do we have the goodwill? Do we have the goodwill to share information, crucial information, to Wanjiku so that she understands her rights when it comes to voting, what she needs to look out for? What does the Constitution say? What does the electoral and boundaries, you know, guidelines say? I mean, step by step. I think this is a challenge to us, being part of the media and also on an individual capacity. What are you doing on your individual account on social media? Are you part of the perpetrators who are fueling an already tense moment as we find ourselves as our politicians align themselves ahead of 2022? So that has found itself also on the front page of the Standard, including all that you have mentioned, matters of equity and Harun Aidin there. There's also now the dilemma that the executive find itself. Uhuru's big dilemma over Ruto. Remember, he said from the outset, the president and his deputy's relationship was a time fuse, given the DP's growing ambitions and Uhuru's agenda and succession. We will be keeping tabs on that. So matters of politics, matters of COVID-19, at a time when the government says, well, we are not forcing our employees and those who are in the front line, but we are encouraging them. I like the word that Hakwale there used, saying we are strongly encouraging them to take the jab. New dynamics there. Government wants to go for the Johnson & Johnson vaccine because it's one dose. But yes, we are here. We'll be keeping tabs. Remember, in the meantime, keep social distancing, mask properly, wash your hands with running water and soap. And what you need to know, and this is a fact, whether you're vaccinated or not, you can still transmit the virus, and also you can still get the virus. So be careful, be safe. Victor.
Absolutely. All right. So let me just give you what's happening here. Yesterday, Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka presented himself to the DCI headquarters, and now Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka legally owns a land in Yatta, Machakos County. That is according to a report. The 200 acres piece of land has been in question as it originally belonged to the National Youth Service. Now, Kalonzo yesterday walked to the Directorate of Criminal Investigations headquarters on Kiambu Road, Nairobi, where he was given a report on the findings of the issue. So he launched a scathing attack on Deputy President William Ruto, who had claimed Kalonzo grabbed the land, but now Kalonzo said that he acquired that piece of land legally. All right. Again, matters money. Equity Bank disowns Ruto's 15 billion shillings claim. MD says that they have not advanced any credit facility of the said amount to pharmaceutical firm in Uganda. Harun Aidin of Turkey, who is also alleged to have obtained 15 billion shillings from Equity Bank to set up a pharmaceutical plant in Uganda, is a stranger to the institution's records. That is what MPs were told yesterday. Equity Bank Managing Director Gerald Warui told MPs probing the multi-billion transaction that the TAC is not only having no account to the bank, but equally has no history of credit facility at the financial institution. Remember, during an interview with the Deputy President a fortnight ago, he said that it was just a single phone call that guaranteed Aideen 15 billion shillings to set up the factory in Uganda. But now, when the Equity Bank was being probed by the parliamentary committee, they said they don't have such a person holding an account with them. Okay. Jen.
That story has also been featured here, and they went ahead to actually put together these caricatures that they actually usually feature here on this particular daily.
Yes.
Just showing a phone ringing, DP on one side, then there's someone dodging the phone itself. Unaona miguu, viatu zimeachwa hapo. DP yako ile upande na ingi anasema hello, hello, hello. And one phone imeandikwa Equity, inaitwa Equity. Na hiyo ingine ni DP hiyo pande ingine. We'll get a better picture for you on our social platform. Now let's come to this particular piece and focus on this story concerning the COVID-19 situation. This is on page 10. Let me just quickly turn there. So COVID-19 is hitting the unvaccinated population harder than those that have been vaccinated. Whether you have the first jab or fully inoculated, you stand better chances than someone who hasn't received the vaccination at all. And unvaccinated patients are taking the hardest hit from COVID-19 infections and forming the bulk of admissions in hospitals, and more so those that need oxygen support in the ICU units. And looking at an example like the Buruburu-based Metropolitan Hospital, just looking at the month of August, so far they have had 113 patients. And by the 24th of August, they had admitted 113 patients with COVID-19 infections. And out of this, only 10 had received the jab and only 2 were fully vaccinated. So showing you that the bigger bulk of this percentage, actually they've put it at about 82%, had not been vaccinated, and those are the very same ones that are on oxygen support. And this story has also been backed by the CDC, that on Tuesday released a study that showed the unvaccinated people are 29 times more likely to be hospitalized with severe COVID-19 disease. And this is a study that was done between the 1st of May through to the 25th of July. And more so looking at this new variant, the Delta variant, because as per this report as well, only 5% of people who have been fully vaccinated have been affected by this new variant, showing you that still, if you haven't been vaccinated, you stand disadvantaged when it comes to the fight against COVID-19. Doreen.
Doreen, before you picked it up, yeah? There's a story here, and I think it's worth reading, is that the grandmother of the slain 2 gentlemen from Embu, the now renowned Kienjokoma brothers, Benson Jiru and Emmanuel Mutura, their grandmother was interred yesterday. According to the family, Gladys Embu suffered from depression after her grandsons were killed and died on Friday last week. She was buried yesterday at the age of 94. So the family said that she fell sick soon after the burial of her grandsons and was rushed to Runyenjes Level 4 Hospital. She died a week after the burial of her grandsons. Now, this is just to put it this way. The granny, 94, perhaps had more lives to live, more years ahead of her, had the 2 grandsons lived. True or false? Because now, the 2 gentlemen were allegedly killed, and 6 police officers are still under police custody. But then now, the granny is also dead because of depression. You can imagine the ripple effect. So the 2 gentlemen were buried a week ago, and now their granny 94 also followed. So you can imagine the ripple effect in that family now.
Whew.
So anytime before you think of doing something of that kind, just think about it. Just think about it. So you can imagine the granny went with all the bitterness. And perhaps now she was blaming those people who killed her grandsons. That is just the love. The grannies and their grandkids. All right, let's be human. Let's be human. Doreen?
I mean, it's so sad, and I can just imagine the mother of those two boys. Now, the two boys died, the grandmother died. Like, what? It's really hurting and so sad. So, still on the same breath, perhaps, if I can say, maybe we can just perhaps look at this particular story which also happened yesterday. That was in Kahawa, where police are now on the spot again over shooting of 2 in Kahawa. And perhaps just run you quickly through that particular article. These 2 people were yesterday shot in Kahawa West in Nairobi during a protest over dawn demolitions, and these were properties worth millions of shillings were also destroyed during that particular protest that has once again put police on the spotlight over the manner in which they handle protests. The killings took place barely a week, and this barely a week after officers enforcing curfew orders also shot another man dead in Kayole. If you can remember that incident that also happened in Kayole just last week, the witnesses said one of the deceased was a tuk-tuk rider, only identified as Alex. He was shot on the head by police at the roundabout along the northern bypass. The other victim is said to be a boda boda rider who was also shot on the head. The police shot Alex at close range and he bled to death. Just going by what is actually happening in the country when it comes to matters of police brutality, and the whole article just highlights perhaps the manner in which police needs to handle issues or protests.
Well, we'll be coming back to just allow us to vent and also give you an opportunity to give us your feedback in regard to what is happening when it comes to our security enforcement officers there and what they're doing wrong at a time that the public is experiencing a lot of antipathy when it comes to these security forces. Do not go away. We'll be right back. Good morning. Thank you for keeping us company. We're still keeping you updated on what has been making headlines in the last 24 hours and giving you just a sneak peek of the details that we have. Now, I don't know among you who has studied in your native language. Doreen, did you ever study in your native language?
No.
Jane?
No.
Victor?
Yes, I did.
Good. Now the story is about you. Tell us first. I think you will be telling us your grade soon after. Now, according to a Tusome report, says the use of local languages is negatively affecting grasp of the 2 language subjects, that is English and Kiswahili. And the report recommends that the number of language lessons per week be increased to 5. Basically, our pupils and students who are learning in their native languages are doing poorly in Swahili and English. Now, basing on your eloquence in English there, Victor, I think you fall far from this particular report. You're not within this sample size. Now, a baseline report by Tusome, a program funded by USAID and the Kenyan government, says the use of local languages negatively affects the grasp of the 2 language subjects. That's the local languages used during English instruction is negatively associated with both English and Kiswahili reading fluency, with pupils from such classrooms scoring 7 to 12 correct words per minute, lower than the average. But I don't know what you think.
But for me, for us, we had this book called Apirima. It was just like it was a low story book, which were being used, it was being used way back in class 1, nursery school, class 1, class 2, so that you have that grasp of your mother tongue, because you realize that there's some people who do not even know how to respond to a simple greeting in their mother tongue. So we are being taught how to pronounce certain insects like the grasshopper, you know, the name of the birds. We had sheep, all those, the basics basically. So we were being taught how to read in Luo. Not that we were being taught in Luo generally, no. It was just a subject, and it was called Apirima Marsomo. Apirima. Apirima. It was just to induct you the moment you get to class 1, class 2, or nursery school, you are being taught. Because imagine at this particular point, as you speak, there's some kids who do not know when you greet them in their mother tongue. Atakuliza, what is that?
We can actually do a survey with all of us here.
Yeah.
Greet us in your native language.
Me? It depends with what time. Like for example, this.
It's in the morning.
Good morning. Oyaore.
Atiwa?
Oyaore.
Oyaore.
Yes. That is good
Jain?
morning. And then you reply, Oyaore ahinya.
Oyaore adi?
Ahinya.
Ahinya.
Yes.
Oyaore
Good
ahinya.
morning. That is good morning.
My tongue is very heavy. I come from the
Or
other
you can
side
simply
of the
put it idhinade, unendeleaje.
Oh, idhinade. That one I can manage.
That,
it
that's
has
easy.
a
And then you
day
respond
somewhere.
Adinade.
Adinade.
Adimaber.
Right.
Ah.
There are some kids who do not know that. Zero.
We will find out the kids right now. Tunaendelea na hii survey. Jane, give us a statement. Yeah, good morning in your language.
Hey.
Those are the
Ohoro wa roshine.
Na najibu aje?
Kwega muno.
Eh?
Kega fio.
Kwega muno.
Kwero atia.
Kwero atia.
Yeah.
Kwero atia.
Aha, hiyo sasa. Wacha tukuje hapa mali tunaenda. Oh, Doreen, usitusalimie tu. Tafadhali elaborate.
Hiyo swali ulikuwa unani target, but lo and behold.
Ati what?
Shock on you.
Wacha niku surprise.
Surprise.
We are waiting.
Aya. Kariena amalai.
Amalai.
Next.
Ushere.
Sindio jibu na question answer.
Bushere mno, hiyo ni ya asubuhi.
Asubuhi.
Kariena amalai, hiyo ni ya anytime.
Yes.
You have been studying hard. Doreen, I can see you have been taking classes. Congratulations. The last time we did this survey, you were busy smiling at us.
Yeah.
Sasa ati kuna watu wanafikiria sijui kuongea Kimeru. Aya, hit me up.
What surprise.
Sema good morning.
Muga muno, urere atia. Undere bwega tukubwaka was fantastic. Imbiengebo kwenda kumenya. Imbiengebo kwenda kumenya. What else do you want to know?
Mimi nakwambia Regina ni ile akikasirika na kuongelesha Kimeru.
The accent is always very strong. That's yes. You see this English that you people you are hearing right now? Why inapotea?
I agree. I have no problem.
Aanze kuongea na ile kambesi.
Sasa nitaenda kuira Martina tigio nshokoda.
Martina ati uchokozi. Hiyo nimeelewa.
Yes.
But director.
Imbiengebo kwenda kumenya. You're not asking me hard stuff.
But you know,
I know my language. I actually read it and I write it.
Nice.
But you see now, Jain, Regina, the good thing about understanding your native language, because when you go back to the village, remember we have got, you know, our beautiful ladies in the village who, they cannot speak English or Kiswahili. The only language they know is their mother tongue. And they feel so good when you go back there and talk to them in that language they understand. I'm talking about our shosho, the old men there.
Yes.
Even you, when you go back to the village for a day or two, you know, you want to speak Kizungu mingi, go back there and
speak your native language.
But you know, the interesting thing is, children will learn a new language faster than a grown-up.
Sure.
Facts and studies have proven that.
Actually,
if you were to take a child to learn a foreign language and you also to learn it at the same time, trust me, the child will master it faster than a grown-up.
Yeah, that's given.
And that's what I'm saying, as Kenyans, as we walk towards the general elections, today, we come from different communities here. This is a teamwork. We do not remember where we come from unless we hear Bushere and Bushere. You know, our unique aspects of where we come from are so unique and should make us proud, not make us enemies. It should make us proud that we are living within one setup and working to the same goal, because everybody wants to prosper. I think we need to be reminded that we are unique, but we live in a symbiotic system that should continue and should not change every 5 years.
Our diversity should be our source of unity.
Indeed, indeed.
So even having avenues where these children can learn that language, even in a school setup, I mean, just the way you're putting it, Wambui, it's actually difficult to learn it as a grown-up. Hey, mimi saizi unaona vile nangangana. Difficult. But you see, when you have it, at least when you're sort of like a toddler or you're trying to grow up, it becomes so easy, and also just makes you appreciate where you're coming from.
And also,
one of our viewers here, Patrick Kamau, says, you sound nice speaking Kimeru. Well, I'm happy my Kimeru.
Let me tell you, kuna kuanga na kautamu fulani ukiongelesha mtoto wako mother tongue senye anajua vita inakuja.
Yes.
Kuna tu kale ka threat enye English ama Kiswahili cannot express.
I know.
But mother tongue is doing it.
Mwana huyo.